In the hidden world of spies, the most dangerous enemy is never the one you see on the battlefield. It's the one sitting quietly inside your circle, trusted, unnoticed, and invisible. Tonight we open a file that Hezbollah never wanted the world to see, a story of betrayal buried deep in shadows. His name was Mohamed El-Shourba. To his comrades, he was a loyal member, sharing their meals, their secrets, even their battles. But in reality, he was something else entirely. For years, he walked among them, gathering their most guarded information, passing it slightly into the hands of their greatest enemies. Every word he spoke, every step he took, could shift the balance of power in the Middle East. How could one man infiltrate such a powerful organization? Who recruited him? And most importantly, what was the price of his betrayal? This is not just the story of a spy. This is a story of a ghost in a plain sight, a man whose double life changed everything around him, until the day the shadows turn against him. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we uncover the secret life of Mohamed El-Shourba, the leader of Hezbollah's most elite and dangerous unit. This is Denzel speaking, and welcome to the world of intrigue. Do not forget to subscribe in the channel and hit the like button for more secrets to get revealed. To understand the story of Mohamed El-Shourba, we first need to step back and look at the battlefield he was operating in. For many years, Hezbollah and Israel have been in a hidden war. It's not always fought with open battles, but often in secret through spying, killings, secret missions, and fights done through other groups. Both sides are always trying to discover the other's secrets, looking for any weaknesses that could change the balance of power. In this secret game, spies are the most important players, and within Hezbollah, there was one man who seemed untouchable. His name was Mohamed El-Shourba. On the surface, El-Shourba was everything the organization could hope for in a leader: intelligent person, disciplined, and deeply trusted. He rose through the ranks with speed, gaining access to the group's most guarded secrets. Eventually, he was appointed as the head of Unit 910, Hezbollah's elite external operation unit. This unit wasn't just another military branch. It was the sharp edge of Hezbollah's dagger, responsible for missions abroad, surveillance, covert strikes, and special operations against Israel and Western targets. The man at its head needed to be absolutely loyal, and in the eyes of Hezbollah, Mohamed El-Shourba was that man. But beneath the surface, another story was unfolding. Little is known about his entire life, where he came from, who shaped him, or what planted the seeds of betrayal in his mind. What we do know is that Shourba lived a double life with extraordinary skill. To his comrades, he was the perfect soldier. To his handlers, he was the perfect spy. Think about what this means. The very man trusted to command one of Hezbollah's most secretive units, the man responsible for protecting their operations, was silently feeding information to their enemies. Every operation he planned, every mission he signed off on, could have already been compromised before it even began. How does someone like that reach such a high position without being discovered? Was he always a spy from the very beginning, planted to rise through the ranks? Or was he turned later, recruited when the stakes were higher, when his betrayal would cause maximum damage? The truth is still clouded in secrecy, but what's certain is this: El-Shourba's background wasn't just that for a soldier. It was the perfect camouflage for a spy. He blended in so well that even those closest to him never suspected the thing. And while he walked the whole of Hezbollah's most secretive operations, the clock was ticking. Every day he remained hidden, the danger grew, not only for the group he infiltrated, but for the entire region. And we have to know that every spy story has a turning point. The moment when a man crosses the invisible line between loyalty and betrayal. For Mohamed El-Shourba, that moment came in silence, hidden from the eyes of his comrades. And here's the question that everyone is asking: how does a man at the heart of Hezbollah leading one of its most secretive units become a spy. Was he born into this role, carefully planted by a foreign intelligence service from the very beginning, or was he recruited later when his access to secrets was too valuable to resist? Some believe it started with money. In a world of espionage, financial pressure is one of the oldest weapons. A secret that a family need, a lifestyle you couldn't afford. These are the small cracks that intelligence agencies know how to exploit. Others argue it was ideology. Perhaps El-Shourba had doubts about Hezbollah's mission or resentment towards its leadership. Maybe he felt used, overlooked, or betrayed by the very organization he served. In a world of shadows, motives are never simple. What we know is that he became a perfect target, a man trusted by his superiors, connected to sensitive operations, and able to move across borders without suspicion. For an intelligence agency, especially one facing Hezbollah like Mossad, El-Shourba was a prize worth the risk. Recruitment in such cases is never dramatic. There are no open contracts or loud promises. It begins slowly. It could be a conversation that feels harmless, a stranger who seems too helpful, a favor that appears small. Step by step, the bond deepens, and before the target even realizes it, he's already compromised. El-Shourba's recruitment followed this classic pattern. He may have been approached during travel abroad, in a country where Hezbollah's watchful eyes were less present, a simple meeting in a cafe, a chance encounter that was never really coincidence, and from that point the web tightened. He was drawn in carefully, tested, then trusted. The most dangerous spies are not those forced into betrayal, but those who choose it. El-Shourba did not simply pass scraps of information. He delivered the keys to the kingdom. His position as a leader of Unit 910 meant he had direct oversight of Hezbollah's international operations. The names of operatives, the location of safe houses, the timing of missions, all of this flowed through him, and all of it could be passed on to his handlers in Mossad. Imagine the scale of damage. Every piece of intelligence he leaked could ripple outward, saving enemies from attacks, exposing Hezbollah's network, and reshaping the balance of power in ways invisible to the public. But El-Shourba's genius wasn't only in what he gave away, it was in how he concealed it. He lived his double life with such precision that no one suspected a thing. His comrades saw only loyalty, his enemies saw only opportunity. And so, while Hezbollah continued to trust him with their most sensitive secrets, El-Shourba continued to build a second life in the shadows, one that would eventually catch up with him. In the shadow world of espionage, no cover lasted forever. For Mohamed El-Shourba, the first cracks appeared not in the grand mistakes, but in the smallest details. It began with questions no one could ever answer. Operations carefully planned by Unit 910 seemed to collapse too easily. Safe houses were raided within days of being secured. Couriers disappeared before they even reached their destinations. At first, Hezbollah's leadership blamed bad luck, or it could be a technical surveillance, or leaks from outside. But by late 2014, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Someone inside was feeding information directly to Mossad. Suspicion spread quietly through the ranks. El-Shourba, however, remained above suspicion. For a while, he was a commander, respected, untouchable, yet he made small mistakes. Once, he signed travel papers for operatives that were later found to be tracked within hours. Another time, he pushed strongly for a meeting location that was mysteriously exposed to surveillance. These little missteps planted a seed of doubt. And by early 2015, Hezbollah's counterintelligence branch launched an internal investigation. Silent watchers followed El-Shourba's movement, monitoring his calls, his meetings, his unexplained absences. The more they watched, the more picture became clear. He was meeting people who should not be meeting, making detours that couldn't be explained, using communication channels that were far too risky for someone of his rank. Then came the night that sealed his fate. In March 2015, surveillance teams captured him slipping into a discreet apartment in Beirut's southern suburbs. Inside, investigators later claimed he met with a foreign handler and passed a flash drive across the table. That single exchange was enough. And within hours, El-Shourba was arrested, not in a dramatic firefight, but quietly, two black SUVs cutting off his car on a narrow street. He was pulled from the driver's seat and disappeared into the night, taken to a secure facility for interrogation. Inside Hezbollah, the news spread like wildfire, though never publicly announced. His comrades were shocked. Some refused to believe it, insisting there had to be a mistake. Others remembered the strange coincidence, the mission gone wrong, that suddenly everything made sense. For years, Mohamed El-Shourba had been a ghost in a plain sight, but once suspicion turned toward him, the mask crumbled quickly. His fall was as silent as his betrayal, swift, cold, and final. When Mohamed El-Shourba was finally exposed, the shock inside Hezbollah was enormous. This was not just any member. This was the commander of Unit 910, a man trusted with the group's most secret missions. His fall shook the very heart of the organization. The first reaction was fear. If he had been a spy for years, then how much information had already leaked? How many safe houses, operations, and fighters were now compromised? Leaders realized that entire network outside Lebanon might already be destroyed, and they had no way of knowing which ones. Inside the group, trust began to collapse. Friends who once fought side by side now looked at each other with suspicion. Every officer, every courier, every soldier was suddenly a potential traitor. The leadership tightened security, forced internet checks, and carried out new interrogations. For many, daily life turned into a climate of fear. The damage went beyond Hezbollah itself. In neighboring countries, several planned attacks were quietly stopped, and foreign intelligence agencies suddenly seemed to know far too much. It became clear El-Shourba's betrayal had changed the balance of the secret war. Among the people close to him, reactions were mixed. Some couldn't believe that a man they trusted, a man they admired, could have sold their secrets. Others said the signs were there all along, but no one wanted to see them. For Hezbollah, the lesson was brutal. Even their most trusted commander could be turned into a spy. And for the world watching from outside, the story of Mohamed El-Shourba was a proof of one thing. In a world of intelligence, no one is untouchable. A single man hidden in a plain sight can shake an entire organization to its core. The story of Mohamed El-Shourba may seem like the end of one man's secret life, but in reality, it's only a chapter in a much larger struggle. The conflict between Hezbollah and Israel has never truly stopped. Sometimes it's visible missiles, airstrikes, and battles along the border, but often it's hidden, fought in the silence of hotel rooms, interrupted messages, and human betrayal. Spies remain the invisible soldiers of this war. Each side is constantly trying to plant informants to uncover the other's secret, to strike before being struck. And if a commander as powerful as El-Shourba could be turned, who can say how many others may still be walking that dangerous double life today? The truth is, the shadow war continues. Every move on the battlefield may already be known to the other side. Every plan could already be compromised. And somewhere in the middle of this silent conflict, new ghosts are being created, men and women whose names we may never hear, but whose actions will shape the battles of tomorrow. The fall of Mohamed El-Shourba reminds us of one thing. In the endless conflict between Hezbollah and Israel, the fight is not only on the front lines, it's also in the shadows, with the most dangerous wars are fought and where the greatest betrayers are born.